meeting for Ignite CDA. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start it off with the Pledge of Allegiance. And now we'll take public comment. Any public comment, please come forward to the podium. Seeing none, we have two sets of minutes to approve, one for our last month's board meeting and one for the special call board meeting that was on July 10th.
Want those separately, or can they be done together?
Separately, please.
I move to approve the June 21st, 2017 Ignite Board Meeting minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, comments, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to approve the July 10th, 2017 Special Call Meeting minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or corrections or omissions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. We'll get into the committee reports. And to start it off, Finance Committee, Mr. Arman, please.
Well, it's summertime, so there's a few pieces that are moving about a bit. So, start out with the Lake District balance sheet. The assets for the Lake District. The Lake District experienced a $442,665 decrease in cash assets for the month of May, primarily due to professional fees paid towards the Memorial Park and parking facility initiatives, plus the final payment on the 214 3rd Street property acquisition that was completed for the parking garage. There were no significant issues in receivables and other assets. The Lake District 2016 series note reserve account had $26 in earned interest on the account balance for the month of June. Liabilities and fund balance, mortgages and notes payable, a line item increase of $5,062 for June represents a standard month of debt service. All other liability parameters were either unchanged or normal for the month, including the 2% credit for the due to arts line item. The Lake District P&L, the Lake District received $139,620 in tax increment revenue from the county in June. Professional fees line item value includes payments to Welshcomer for $140,480 for the Memorial Park design work, Miller Stauffer for $27,750 for parking facility design work, and Holly Troxel for $10,000, and Luke and Zananas $3,624 for legal fees associated with the issuance of the Washington Trust Bank 2017 note. Special project reserve line item of $375,000 equals the final payment for the property we purchased for the parking garage at 214 3rd Street. All other P&L expenditure items were pretty normal for the month. As for the River District experienced a $200,216 decrease in cash assets for the month of May, due primarily to the Southeast Way revitalization project. The liabilities and fund balance, all liability parameters were either unchanged for the month or normal, including the 2% due to arts. And the River District P&L, the district received $40,601 in tax increment revenue from the county in June. And the agency-funded line items include a $230,643 payment made to the Southeast Way project in May. All other P&L expenditures were normal. So that is the balance sheet and for the and profit and loss for the River and Lake Districts.
Mr. Chairman, just one question. On the Lake District, Lukens and Annis, is that?
They're accounts of the bank, Washington Trust Bank, but we have to pay those fees.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't seen that name before, so.
Yeah.
As far as payables for the month of June and for June and July, first off is some legal payments. Elam and Burke, $4,226.50. The majority of that was for the Atlas Simpson Mill initiative that we're looking at doing. Holly Troxel for $5,834. Once again, a good portion of that was for the discussion on expansion of the mill site. CDF Landscape for $15,742 for the Midtown Green Space Initiative, which looks beautiful. And then a number of payments for the semi-annual payments that come up every July or June and December. Chamber DDA for $921.76. The ICE plant IRA for $25,581.45. 609 Sherman Avenue Lofts, $14,031.36. Riverstone West Phase 1 OPA for $149,744.09. Riverstone West Phase 2 IRA, $39,498.74. Mill River Seniors Apartments IRA, $6,553.24. River West Apartments IRA, $7,024.75. Riverstone West Apartments 3 IRA, $4,154.70. The Circuit at Celti's IRA, $6,552.62. Washington Trust Lake District Bond 2016 Series payment of $907,202.07. And the Coeur d'Alene Downtown Association event contract of $15,625. Those total up to $1,176,889.78. The next payment was for the Celtics Way Revitalization Project. It's in full swing out there. Welshcombe Engineers was $29,600, and contractor T. LaRiviere, $239,748.13, for a total of $269,348.13. The next was the downtown parking structure project, Miller Stauffer for $55,944. And then also that was for the design, and there's some reimbursable expenses of $11,533.70. Total payment for the downtown parking structure was $67,477.70. And last but not least, the Four Corner project, Welchcomer, once again, $35,120. That's the final payment on that contract. And then construction starting on that, $7,720 for a total payment on the Four Corner project of $42,840. All total, all the payables for the month of June was $1,582,358.11. Pretty big month.
Yes, it is.
So approval for the financials and the payables.
I move to approve the financial report and the payables.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Big month, busy month. Next, fiscal year 2017.
I'm bringing up a graphic of the amended Lake District budget. You'll recall, I don't know how to make this full screen. That? Is there a way to make it more readable?
You could maybe zoom in just a
See
little bit,
see
Danielle, on the
sign
plus.
symbol up there?
Yeah.
Click that.
It's probably our best bet.
We can scroll up, or maybe I'll go out one.
Perfect.
So you'll recall that last month Tony went over this amendment to the budget in quite a bit of detail, and I'm happy to go through that detail if you would like. The action that we're seeking tonight on this amended budget is publication. Similar to the adoption of the budget, which we'll be talking about in just a minute, the first step in an amended budget is you have to publish it and then have a budget hearing. And those hearings for both this amended budget and the new budgets for both districts will be held in August. So we're seeking action to submit this for publication, for public consideration, and then they could come in and give public comment to the board at the August meeting. Does anybody have any questions about last month, or does anybody want me to walk through the detail of these changes?
Nothing changed from our June board meeting?
No.
I would just move that we approve moving forward with the publishing of the amended budget to move forward. And what else do you need on that motion?
That's it.
Second.
Publish the proposed FY17 Lake District budget as presented to the Coeur d'Alene Press prior to August 16th.
That's what I said.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
So then, looking at the 2018 draft budgets, you can see for the Lake District and the River District. Tony did ask that I let you know that nothing changed even with the decisions, needed to be changed even with the decisions that were made at the special call meeting related to Memorial Park. So again, I can go through the detail and give you the background, but it's the same budget that we discussed in detail in June. Does anyone have any comments or questions or want detail on any items there?
And once again, this will be presented at the budget workshop, so we can make changes at that point in time, should we want to.
This is just
Right,
to
so this is for publication so that
Correct.
you can receive comment at the public hearing in August.
I move to approve the 2018 draft budget.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. Next report is from Commissioner Jordan, the Parking Committee.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, regarding the City Parking Commission, I don't have anything new to update the organization on that. On the parking team that's overseeing the parking structure for Ignite, I have a small report on that. We had an open house last Wednesday, and the turnout was very light. About 10 people. And of the 10, several of those people really were asking questions about things that had nothing to do about the parking structure, just kind of just general questions about the downtown and, things like that. So there were no negative comments on it. And it was busy downtown. There must have been over 1,000 people in McEwen Park here. I think probably the predictions that nobody would use McEwen Park probably turned out wrong. But it was a busy night downtown, couldn't hardly find anywhere to park. The open house, I think, was published pretty well. It was sent to both the newspapers. It was on the city website. I think it was on Facebook. So they got the word out pretty well on it. So I think there's not really, from what I'm getting in the community, a lot of controversy on it. I think the consensus seems to be pretty positive on it, so we're moving forward. They have some really nice artist conceptions they had for the open house, and they have I think I might have mentioned the last meeting, they have, but I'm not sure, on the north side facing Coeur d'Alene Avenue, at each end of it, they're reinforcing the structure to take a potential skywalk if a high-rise project happens over there and they want it. And there's also an allowance for a skywalk where the Greek restaurant building is if something happens there. I asked him about our Doug's Muffler property, and he said they don't have anything planned, but it wouldn't be very difficult to put one in if somebody needed a connection there. They said since the alley's only 20 feet wide, their structural engineers are telling them it's not real difficult to make a connection across there. Coeur d'Alene Avenue, though, is 60 feet, and that's a real difficult one. So they're putting in piers and reinforcement for those. And he said because of the length of it and the way it expands and contracts, it needs to kind of be free standing there and be able to move around. So that's why they have to make sure the structure is ready for it, if it happens. So anyway, that's my report. Very few people came, but the comments were positive that we got.
And as far as you know, everything's still on track for starting construction
Yeah, they
this
say we're
fall?
still on track.
Perfect.
And I don't have a time set for the next team meeting. It'd probably be after Tony gets back. They thought they're moving along and working on the plan, so probably early August maybe when we have a team meeting. But we're looking good,
Thank you very much.
you bet.
Next, because Tony's on vacation, our Assistant Executive Director is going to lead us on the Executive Director report.
I'm gonna do my best in Tony's stead.
That's the legal executive director.
So the first thing that Tony that is on the agenda is to discuss the new proposed district. That is the area here that's outlined in red. The hashed area is what would be proposed to be added to the river district of the Stimson Mill site, and then this over here is the lake district, but would be included in the acquisition that the city is making. So for purposes of just moving things forward, we would like to have the board discuss and consider names. The four that have been suggested are the Atlas District, the Saltese District, the Opportunity District, and the Mill District. So I guess we'd just like to hear what your thoughts are on that, and if you feel inclined to move forward and select one of those names.
Dialogue?
I'm fine with any of them but the Mill District, because the Mill District might sound like we're trying to create a mill or do something, would be my only concern about that one. The other three, okay, either way, that's just my input.
I'm okay with that, Brad. That was the most obvious name I could come up with for it.
As a Mill District, I like the Atlas District just because that's the area.
I'll vote for
It's part of our history.
I like the
Yeah.
Atlas too.
I do too.
It's part of our history.
So the Atlas is a district and not just a mill?
Well,
Pardon?
the
Atlas is
mill-
a
mill was
road.
there at one
Right.
time.
The
Yeah,
mill was
I mean,
there,
when
it
I,
was the
when I
Atlas
heard
Mill.
Saltese, I was like, well, Saltese goes all the way into Post Falls, and I think that could be a little confusing.
Yeah,
We've got 3 votes
That's
for
true.
Atlas.
I move we name it Atlas.
Yeah.
I second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I didn't submit a name because I was afraid somebody might complain if I did. Sorry.
See,
So is
there
that
you go.
Commissioner Arman that made the motion?
Yes.
And who did the second? Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
Totally agree.
It was a tie.
There we go, the Atlas District.
And next, the North Park Side, or Park Drive subdivision update by Mr. Boyd. Please come forward. Good to see you again.
I'm gonna close
you,
that
thanks.
for you there, Phil.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Phil Boyd, Welch Comer Engineers. Tony wanted me just to give an update of the status of the Park Drive subdivision. I don't know that there's a tremendous amount to update, other than to say we've communicated with the Curl folks, the family. Just to refresh everybody's memory, that is the part of the property where there's existing encumbrance. It obviously impacts the ability to create lots 9 and 10. Tony had asked for me to take a quick look at, was there a way to create a lot in this area in the event we can't get the encumbrance removed for 9 and 10? Could we perhaps create a lot back here? We could, because the lot would technically have street frontage, and you need to have street frontage for the parcels. But you can see, if we were to do that, it would come down into this area here. And then you'd kind of end up with this remnant green space surrounded by parcels. I think Tony's trying to be very cognizant of the financial impacts of losing lots 9 and 10. Just to refresh everyone what that looks like. You saw this at the other board meeting. I did correct this number here on the sanitary sewer and on the, I guess it was the power number that was different. So you can see the impacts. The one on the right is with 10 lots, and the one on the left is with 8 lots. And again, the revenue side of it are just numbers we picked. I think Commissioner Jordan and Commissioner Widmeyer might have helped me with those numbers, but this was 6 or 9 months ago when we put those in initially. And you guys have seen this before. So I'm not sure that Tony was looking for any action, Danielle, do you remember? I think he was more just looking for to give you some update and solicit any input the board might have or direction.
On 8 lots.
I think, oh, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Oh,
Deanna?
were you going?
No, go ahead. My comment was it's just almost a push on 8 lots, so, as to what we've got into it, or will have
Brad?
into it.
You know, we never know what the future holds, but at this day and time, and I'm interested in Steve's opinion, I think the lots could be more valuable than those numbers, for whatever that's worth. I don't know at what point we have to make a decision, and I don't know if there's been any more contact with the Cruel family. And I would just say, I would be for going ahead with the other lots and leave those two and see if we can set it up to short plat those later. I mean, if we can work out a reasonable settlement with the Cruel family, I think that's the way to go, and just go on, move forward on this thing and go on. But if they're unreasonable or can't make a decision, this thing is dragging on and it's gonna impact that project, I think we go on without it. And I also think, and nothing against the Cruel family, I don't know anything about them, I'm just talking in generalities. When you have a situation like this, if they see that it's not holding the entire project up and it goes on without them, whatever value they're trying to hold out for on those lots, I think gets less valuable. So that would be my input on it.
Steve?
Mr. Chairman, I did have the opportunity to talk to one of the Carroll family, and she's a very nice, pleasant lady. However, she indicated she was one of 6, and that their opinions were all over the board as to what the best route to take. I think this is, if anything is even done, I think it's going to take some time, quite a bit of time to do. So from our perspective, I think we have to proceed with 8 in our planning. You know, when I talked to her, they were going, this isn't really a high priority for them, but I think what we have is 6 different opinions on maybe the direction to go. I guess this would be a question for you, Danielle, is there any one of the 6 that holds any legal authority to make a decision? And can 1 make the decision and 5 oppose? Or there's really, nobody has any legal standing here from what I can see.
Really depends on what the testamentary documents say. If they all are vested with the decision-making power, if there's a single executor of the estate. So without seeing those documents, it's hard to know.
And I would say that the estate was probably settled years and years ago, and I don't know what continuation there has been, because these are all grandchildren. And these folks, I believe, are in their 70s, maybe 80s.
Yeah, probably would be.
And so I don't know what continuation of legal authority has even extended to them. So it could be, probably will be a fairly long process if anything is done there. So that's my opinion, is that we would probably need to move ahead with 8.
Now, did you research that?
Which part?
Going forward with 8?
We can go forward with 8. I think what we would propose doing, and I'll show it to you on this exhibit because it's a little bit easier, is the alley from this point here into servicing lot 9 and 10, we would propose not to construct at this time.
Just do it behind
Just,
for 8?
yeah, we would just do it along 8. 8 could technically have access off the alley this way. It would be a side-loaded instead of a rear-loaded lot. We wouldn't have to install another manhole. There's a couple of sewer services, trying to reduce the project cost and not rip up turf where we don't necessarily need to rip up existing turf. And so we would continue with 8. 9 and 10 would not be platted, and then in the future, we would, if it comes to pass that we can remove the encumbrance, we could simply extend the alley that direction, and then just leave this. A couple of different scenarios. One is it's currently city property, and it was intended to be part of the trade. We have not completed the trade yet, so I guess maybe a little bit of direction from the board on, do we want to do the trade, and Ignite still owns this lot 9 and 10 area, because those are just legal descriptions. They don't have to be parcels, so you can actually trade the property with a legal description. So Ignite would be the owner of the pink area and the blue area. The city would then become the owner of the green area. We move forward and plat 8 lots. Ignite still owns the blue area. If we can never make the transaction happen with the Curl, never, that's a long time, but in some time period, then does Ignite choose to deed it back to the city, or are we just creating more confusion than is necessary?
One way or the other, it would go to the city in 4 years, right?
Good
Yeah,
point.
I think that strategy makes a lot of sense, and I fully agree with the Brad and the mayor's comments on we need to proceed. So I think it makes a lot of sense to do the trade, to get it set up, to proceed with 8 lots, and see what happens, but not stall the project out, so.
Mr. Chairman, Phil, the So lots 9 and 10, if we proceed with 8 lots, that just is green space?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep,
So-
let me go back to,
So it'd be green space sprinkled, because that's going to add a little bit of cost. Does the cost of not extending that alley pay for the green space there? I would say probably, it might be close, but I'd say the green space and the irrigation might be a little bit more.
some of it's currently irrigated, and hopefully between this morning and now, it hasn't been torn up yet. Because the contractor, we're pushing on them to move quickly to get the lots graded out in here. And so what we'll do is go in and mark that line out right there out of our demolition for now. And we'll preserve the portion of the irrigation system that's in there. If we need to supplement it, we will, but it would just remain green space, and we won't also construct some of this landscaping that you see in here, or we'll push the landscaping perhaps. Actually, we probably just won't construct it. We'll just remove it from the contract and leave it just turf.
Phil, I don't know if this is thinking down the road, and I had a debate with someone just the other day on the wooden grandstand. So that, obviously, something needs to be done there. Do you, and this would just be your opinion, do you anticipate the old wood coming off of that and new wood being replaced there?
That would be my opinion. I'm not sure what was in Dick Stoffer's analysis, but I think the coatings that are, the paint that's on there, the coatings, is probably in such condition that would be so difficult to strip that coating to get to a decent condition. It might make more sense to pull the siding off, but I think Dick would have analyzed that in his report, so the report might speak to that.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? I haven't seen the documents with the Curl family. Can the land trade move forward with the restrictions that are included therein?
I think it would just, the land trade could move forward. It's just that you now have the restriction on the piece of property you own instead of the city of Coeur d'Alene having it.
Okay, but it's not restricted to stay in the ownership of the city.
That's a good question. I see what you're saying, Danielle. I'm not sure.
Darn lawyers.
Yeah. We had this discussion about detailed work reading the other day didn't we?
Well, we're kind of quasi with the city, but we're not exactly with the city.
Do we still need board action to make that trade happen, or is that?
You
We
guys
don't
have an
need board
agreement?
action today, I don't think.
No, you have an agreement with the city. We've been kind of holding off on writing the legal descriptions, because there was no point in writing the legal descriptions depending on what we were going to trade, or what the city and Ignite were going to trade. I'll get the documents for Danielle, and we can look and see how that encumbrance reads. And if it can't be transferred, I guess you'll see me next month. Yeah, and
Legal out.
yeah, and I think what we can do is, currently you own half of that pink area now. You don't have the other half of the pink, because when Garden Avenue was vacated, half was vacated to Ignite, the other half was vacated to the city of Coeur d'Alene, because those were the property owners on each side. So at a minimum, you'll get half of the pink for the green. If the encumbrance isn't there, it would be the blue and the pink for the green.
How deep is Lot 8? You know, without the alley right away, but just,
From here to here,
yeah.
120.
I think they're all
Okay, well, that probably works with a side load garage, so that's a good idea.
Phil, one more question, is that the alleyway that goes through there, if we go back to the picture where the park is there, is there going to be public access if you're walking along Park Drive and you go down the alleyway to get into the park?
Yes.
So there'll be a walkway to go and an entrance into the park from there?
Yes, and you can't, this rendering doesn't depict it, but we put a sidewalk that extends from here, tried to make it kind of a prominent feature. So when you're walking along Park Drive and you turn and you look, you can kind of see the way that the landscaping is here. It's such that you'd look down and you'd see into the park and the playground, because you obviously want to draw people. Most of the neighborhood folks will know that it's there, but if you happen to be a visitor, you want to be drawn into that area. And that's one route. The other route is obviously up through here.
So there's berming all along the backside, but there's no fencing, right? There's just landscaping that's along the,
There is currently a debate now, even though the design is done and we're under construction. Originally, we had planned to put berming through here. As we worked through the design with the city staff, it presents some maintenance challenges to put that berming in there. So the decision was to remove the berming from it because it presents too much of a maintenance challenge. When Tony Burns kind of heard that towards the end, he saw that as a pretty significant change to what Ignite had envisioned would be the character of the alley, that he really wanted to see berming there. And so once Tony comes back, we're gonna work through that in some more detail with he and Bill Greenwood on the ground looking at it. and see if we
I
can-
would agree with Tony.
Okay,
That's a pretty big move. I mean, I think we always planned that was gonna be burned.
well, you have some influence.
Idea then for noise abatement?
What's that?
What's Mr. Greenwood's idea then for noise abatement? Because that was the purpose for it.
There, we did plan, we have more area over here, and actually, if you were to drive out to the site right now, you would see that there is a significant amount of Celtice Way material stockpiled all along in this area. That is intended to go kind of through this where we've got a greater depth in here, and we could put more of that soil kind of in what we'll say is city property, without impacting the usable space in the park. As you start to run berming along here, that berming starts to encroach into a picnic area, obviously, because now you have this sloped area. It also creates a little bit of a maintenance issue on the alley side, because technically, it's in the city park, Bill needs to maintain it, but it's really there for these property owners here to protect them. And as Bill worked through that, he just saw that as a big maintenance issue, and so his conclusion was using vegetation and a fence to buffer the sound in this area, because it won't be as significant as this area. So we were trying to reach a compromise in there. Again, once Tony kind of heard that during one of the construction meetings, he had an adverse reaction to that. And so we were.
It would be easier to leave a gap in for those people to come through there.
Sure, and when we had our berming in there, we just wrapped the berming kind of around here and still left the gap in there. So there was a gap for the berm. When folks looked down the alley, you could see right through there. So the short story is there is berming over here. You've seen some of the stockpiled material. When Tony gets back, we'll walk it with Tony, Bill, I'm sure anyone else that would like to attend, and Del Hatch, and see if we can't find a compromise solution. You obviously have some influence, Mr. Mayor.
I think that issue probably needs to come back to the whole board. I would think that we would all want to weigh in that. We'd want to see Plan A and B,
Okay,
because I deem that to be pretty significant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely have an impact on the price.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think the marketability of the lots with a berm and landscaping is much, much, much different than the marketability of the lots with a fence and a couple of trees. So, yeah, I agree with the mayor wholeheartedly. Needs to come back.
With his
I agree
checkbook.
with you guys. I don't know how the price of a masonry fence compares with berming. I think a masonry fence could be okay there. It couldn't be cedar or vinyl, but I think if you had a nice-looking masonry fence that went through there, I think that probably could
That's different.
work, yeah.
That, and that shelter, that sound pretty good to you.
So we probably just need
Plus the-
the choices.
okay.
The homeowners would know that's basically permanent. It's not gonna fall apart like a cedar or vinyl after a few years.
You can also appreciate Bill Greenwood's perspective, because he's got all this maintenance to deal with, and so he's looking at this kind of ongoing cost of maintaining that, and the berm presented a real challenge with him. So between the landscape architect and Bill, they tried to get to this type of vegetation that would fill in very thick, very tall, achieve some of the things. But again, that didn't make its way back to this board, certainly. It made it as far as Tony, and when he saw that, he said, we've got to revisit this. So we'll be back again.
Sounds good.
I think vegetation is great, and it gets better with time. But I don't know what everyone else thinks, but if this berm is a no-go, I would think it, look seriously at a masonry fence,
Okay.
maybe run that by him.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Danielle, would it be possible to get a copy of the documents of the trust so that you could review those for the Curl family? It feels like we're just kind of spinning circles here, waiting for something to happen, and we're not even sure that if in fact they have the authority to make that decision. So I'd like to have you have the opportunity to review those for this board so that we can understand exactly what our risks are of assuming that land with the restrictions on it.
Sure. I'll work with Phil on that.
And I think it's just, the only thing we're working off of is a recorded document, right?
Correct. And Randy Adams, the city attorney, actually did a incredibly impressive piece of detective work when he tracked this down, because it was just this kind of vague line, not a vague line, it was a line in a title report. We got the source document for it, and then he went to this effort and actually tracked down these folks in California. And it was, he has this very long email that I'll forward to Danielle, but I don't know that it went as far as what you're talking about, is finding the documents that would indicate who has authority over the estate.
I mean, we might be chasing down a rabbit hole here,
Right.
because, I mean, if no one has the ability to sign off on this legally, then what difference does it make if we make them an offer?
And there, I don't want to step into Danielle's world, but Randy Adams and Mike Gridley had kind of an option to, kind of I think a quiet title option, and which still involved notifying the descendants. And so they had thought about heading down that path, notifying the descendants, but then I think the strategy was, let's approach them in a more diplomatic way first, instead of taking the legalistic route. But that option may still exist, to go down the quiet title path.
Danielle, do we need action by the board to move forward with the 8 proposals today? Or are we just talking about that today?
I don't think we need action on it.
Okay.
Nope, I'll come back with it if it needs something more, because there's going to be a subdivision application,
Yep.
and so we'll bring back the subdivision application to you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So the last item under Executive Director's Report is the consideration of the employment policy. You are aware that this was a move to try to bring the employment terms for Tony more consistent with the city's department heads' terms. When I shared this, a comparison between Tony's current contract and the employment policy, and I can walk you through some of the highlights, but they're mostly we've brought it in line with the city's policy to the extent we can. There are a few items like Percy where Tony's not isn't subject to Percy, so we would continue with his 401K contributions. But just to walk you through quickly, he would still be an at-will employee. He was under his current contract as well. We did add some, you'll see in this, and if you reviewed it, we added some, like the employee standard of conduct, which is similar to very similar, probably exactly what's in the city's policy. His compensation, we moved to change to track the increase possibilities that are in line with the city's policy. It's up to an 8% pay increase per year, which is what the city's department heads are subject to, and then also a cost of living increase. We conformed his vacation and sick leave to what the city receives, as well as insurance. Like I said, retirement's a holdout because he is not under the Percy system. Then we added some governance in terms of employer property and use of employers' electronic equipment. We added, anti-discrimination, no drugs in the workplace, things that aren't typically in an employment contract but should be in a personnel policy. And they are the same terms that are included in the city's policy. Also related to privacy, he's a public employee. He knows, but his emails are subject to disclosure. Just getting that documented. And then the last thing, well, 2 things. The vehicle reimbursement, Tony is currently receiving $150 a month vehicle reimbursement. A suggestion was made that go to documented mileage instead. So that's something I think that the board could consider to decide. One thought on that is that there's some time lost with that documented mileage, so just something to take into consideration versus just doing a flat, fairly low, I would say, reimbursement. Then the last thing is severance. Tony did in his contract have a 6-month severance provision. The city's provision is 4 months. Tony, of course, being a good negotiator, requested that we keep that at 6. But most of the other benefits, if I was summarizing, I would say most of the other benefits are to move to the city's policy are to his benefit. So it was thought by Commissioner Hoskins and Widmeyer that we leave that at 4 months.
Again, Tony's currently on a contract, which expires in September, I believe, and this is just a move to a policy to be more in line with city employees.
Mr. Chairman, the one thing too is that we probably should move to what's called getting this position leveled, which means that for this position, it's a little difficult with Tony's position because you don't see it inside cities, right? There are for example, Boise, that's not in the city. There's not really, there's some cities that have an urban renewal director, but they're not full-time urban renewal directors, so it's different. It's difficult to what you would call level his position. And by leveling, you have a minimum, a starting wage, and then a maximum. The reason why you want to establish that is that if you reach the maximum, then you're only eligible to get the COLA. You're not eligible to get any merit pay. I would say that, I would know that the level that Tony is right now, he would more than likely be at the maximum. You know, our city attorney is at the maximum, and our treasurer is at the maximum. So, and Tony has been with the organization as long as they have, so he is more than likely maxed in that position, which means, just means that he wouldn't get a merit, but he would still be eligible to get a COLA.
That would be good. That's kind of standard in most businesses. So would that be then a part of this?
Because if we're following the procedures of the city, the city only gives a COLA if the employee is maxed out. I don't know, Danielle, if there was language in there in regards to that?
Well, it's really, the salary is really in the discretion of the board in accordance with the language, so I think that you could implement that as part of your discretion, that, you know, if you create a range, which you could adopt a range,
Right.
if, you could just say you're working within that, and in your discretion, you're not gonna give them raises. So I think that this would work fine the way it is,
But it would,
even if a range was created and established.
but they would still be eligible for COLA.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because there's two different, there's the merit-based, and then there's the COLA that are separated within the policy.
So we should probably work to establish a minimum and a maximum. And we could work
Would
with
that-
Melissa, our
Would that be
personnel
under the
director.
merit area then? We could add it to that, or would you?
I don't, the merit area just says it's within the discretion of the board and up to 8%, so I think you don't need to make a change, especially because we don't have a range today. We could add the range into the policy, but then you have to change it if the range changes. I think you could do them independently and they'd work together fine.
Question,
Okay.
4 to 6 months. So we have a 6 months for Tony, only he requests that. But right now, the city has a 4-month severance,
Right, so Tony's current contract includes a 6
calls for
month.
6 months.
And this will
So
go
this
to
would be a
4
You know,
months.
I think if we're gonna bring everything in line, we should bring everything in line, personally. I really believe that we should do that, and I
And this
appreciate
policy
Tony
states
very much, but I
4
think
months.
4 months is what we're doing with the city. I think as long as we stay in line
Mm-hmm.
with the city, then we're not subject to a lot of criticism from folks who are concerned about how we're doing business.
I agree.
And so I think it's important that we stay in line with the city's processes.
When does he become at will? He's currently under contract.
He's actually, he has a contract, but he's an at-will employee
Got it.
pursuant to the
Okay.
contract. And Tony has requested that we take action on this immediately and make it effective August 1st. That's another question for the board, whether or not you'd want to wait till the end of the fiscal year, or whether you'd want to take action and make it effective immediately. It significantly benefits him from an insurance perspective on a monthly
How's it
basis.
gonna affect our budget?
I would say that this is a change effective with the budget year, October 1st.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I think that
His
makes sense.
contract year,
I would agree
is
with
that the
that.
same as the budget year?
Yes.
His contract runs through the rest of the
Yeah.
fiscal year.
I would, that makes fiscal sense as well.
I guess the only other input, Danielle, is I think for the minimal car allowance that he has right now, we need that up in minutes, trying to do mileage reporting, so.
Well, if he does an expense report, saves his receipts, somebody has to sign it, you've probably spent $150.
Yeah,
That's the
it's-
logic, but it doesn't mean
Yeah.
we can't do expense reports, because he does
Based
it.
on, yeah,
Agree with you
based on,
guys.
based on what I know for those types of reimbursements, I think that's very,
That's outside the city.
And that
Logic, or-
that would be, that's
But he puts
that's
a
a
lot of
minor
miles on his
minor
legs.
issue.
yeah.
The one thing with, it's actually unfortunate that Tony, years and years ago, when he started, wasn't on Percy, because I think in the long
Oh,
run.
yes.
Oh,
But,
that'd been way
but,
better.
but at this point in time, it's not good to go backwards to that program. So that's really the only one that varies with the city. Whomever, if Tony was to leave and we would hire a new executive director, that person would fall under, I would say would fall under Percy.
Well, one more thing I want to point out, and I pointed out in the email, is that this policy is directed at Tony. We just really focused on the department head policy for the city, and if we were to hire a different employee, we would need to either adopt a different
Modify this,
policy or modify this policy. So just for your awareness, it's not a general employment policy.
So I like the idea of having a range, especially if you get somebody new, then they know where they are from the very beginning and
I
how
was
far
gonna
they're penetrated
suggest,
into that range.
Based on Mayor Widmer's comment about having a range or something like that, that when it comes time to evaluate Tony and consider his compensation for the subsequent budget year, that we have an analysis done, or we do a little bit of research and try to find comparator salaries as part of our process of determining whether he's gonna get merit increases or cost of living increases, because, you know, I agree, we'd have to set a range if we hired a new executive director, but to ensure that our current executive director is kind of on par with similar types of roles other places, that we just have that, I would like to see that information as a board person, to be able to know what are similar people making in other areas, and what is that range, so that we can make decisions about whether his compensation needs to be increased in accordance with what's happening elsewhere, or if he's okay where he is. Like you said, he's probably at a max of many of those ranges.
And we could get some more detailed documentation on that through this employment service that we use. Does the college level positions?
Every position at the college is leveled,
And
yes.
who do you use to level that?
It's a combination of our, we use industry sources as well as consultants, and we do evaluations on every 5 years or so. We do a comprehensive look at compensation.
So again, we can work through our personnel office to get that, to get the position leveled.
Yeah, it's common business.
So we have Danielle keep researching that and get us, so we can get the range.
I can work with
Reach
Melissa.
out to Melissa.
I
yeah.
will.
Perfect.
So with that, if the board doesn't have any other questions or comments, we'd be looking for a motion to adopt, if the board so desires, the employment policy, and then with an effective date, it sounds like of October 1.
I would move to adopt the employment contract. Is it called a contract or policy?
Policy, so it's, the actual name is the employee personnel rules.
I would move to adopt the employee personnel rules effective October 1 of 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Well done.
We made it,
Anything else?
nothing else.
It's time for board commissioner comments, and I think everybody knows today is, when's last day? It's last board meeting. Almost 8 years.
Yes.
So you're leaving us?
I'm sorry to hear that.
It is, yeah, out as time. So, thank you very much for your many years of hard work and peanut eating, and
And peanut paying, that's what
Yeah.
you got, was the peanut pay, that
Yep.
was it.
we appreciate it. We're going to miss you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it very much. I think this board serves a very important role in representing the community and drives a lot of change. It's really not short-term change, it's long-term change from economic development standpoint. And I'm proud to have been on this for 8 years and projects that we've done, so I'll miss it.
Yes.
So it's, thank you all. It's been a pleasure serving.
Good job.
Thank you very
serving with
much.
everybody, so.
I'm really sorry I complained about the Mill District.
Yeah.
This is namesake.
I didn't realize you were leaving.
Yeah,
We shall miss you.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I kept
I would just like to compliment the mayor and the council for their foresight in moving forward with the Atlas District. I think
Yes.
that we have an opportunity there that is amazing. And if it weren't for the fact that the mayor and the council led the way and supported this process, most particularly, I believe, the mayor, had the vision to see what could happen there and what potentially could happen for our community, I think that it's something that we really, really need to think about and really appreciate the value, the future value to the community of what the Atlas District is going to provide. And I think also I really want to compliment our mayor and council for moving forward and having the foresight to see the vision.
It's definitely created some neat buzz. I stopped at the Honda motorcycle place today to get something, and they're all in there excited about what's going to happen, so thank you. Good. Thanks. Anything else?
I was just gonna add, I'm downtown all the time, live downtown, and for some reason, the McEwen Garage over the last 3 weeks has been busier than any summer yet. It is, for example, I think you would go over there right now and you wouldn't find a parking spot. So I think that the timing of us bringing this new parking structure on, now, one thing that we've done is we've really enhanced the employee parking passes. And I think once that new garage is built, then a lot of those employees can transition up to the new garage, which will free up more spots in McEwen. So it's very timely that garage is gonna come online. Hopefully, like this time next year, it'll be up and
That'll be
operating.
nice.
So
That'd be very nice.
it's gonna be really good.
Well,
Any
I would
other-
agree with Brad. I was downtown last Wednesday, and I don't know if I've ever seen so many people downtown other
It
than a
was
holiday.
one of the best nights I've seen in a long time.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
There were 2,000 people over
Yeah.
at Live After Five.
Yeah,
It was the event
so there must have been 3,000 then in the park altogether.
probably.
A lot, yeah.
And the farmer's market that's going on tonight is,
Plus all the other people,
Well
everywhere. I mean,
attended.
Sherman was packed, the restaurants were packed. I mean,
Yeah.
what a night. You know, this downtown has come so far in the last 30 years, and it's taken a lot longer than I hoped or thought it would take. But boy, it's really coming along. This is one of the best downtowns in the state, or maybe the best. It's
good job, you
a
all.
great downtown.
Any other comments? This is the second time for public comment. Do we have any public comment out there? Gosh, I hope Sam doesn't get up. Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
I was so worried.